I am one of those irritating guys that will give you absolutely zero credit because you have a degree. So you just see there's some of us that degrees don't matter if things are not built upon sound principles. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've got a degree, I'm like, that's great. Let's prove that your degree is worth something. How useful is it? So for instance, if someone comes up and they want your respect and they say, hey, I'm a doctor. You're like, really? Well, what did you study? I studied 1,700 ways to win the lottery. The premise is unsound. The whole field is unsound. The structure is unsound. And so that degree really doesn't have any bearing. And so there are some that want to discredit me or pull me down because I do not give those with credentials immediate credit. And as soon as I mention this, you might even turn off the video. But when it comes to the field of psychiatry, it's not based on a good, sound, foundational premise. It's actually after the fact. It actually chases reality instead of getting in front of reality. Let me explain to you what I mean. Here recently, I had a family member call me up and basically was like, they were begging to help me help them with another family member whose chemicals were out of balance. And this had been taught to them or told to them by a therapist of sorts. And the analysis here is that, because their chemicals are out of balance, then their emotions are out of balance. And to fix all of this, let's give them the right chemicals, which will give them the right emotions. And thus we will have the right outcome and the right life. All of this is based upon an unsound premise. Not just to mention that it is founded upon evolutionary theory, but it just practically does not work. And let me give you a fantastic example. When do the chemicals that help with your emotions begin to work? Is it before or after you get slapped in the face? My chemicals aren't out of whack before someone walks up and slaps me in the face, but they absolutely could get out of whack after someone slaps me in the face, and I interpret that as an attack upon me. All of a sudden, my system would be flooded with all kind of chemical activity that will help me know that, hey, you're being insulted or you're being attacked or someone is out to harm you and your family. They didn't like what you said, etc. And so there could be a flood of chemicals rushing through me, but they came after the slap in the face. Now, to go along with this, you need to understand that it's not just physical reaction, but also mental reaction. So for instance, when do the trauma emotions and chemicals kick in? Is it before or after you learn that you need to speak in front of a new group of people? There's going to be 500 people present on a topic that you don't know anything about, and that's coming up 3 days from now. When do the negative chemicals begin to rush into the body of the human being that is put in this precarious position? After they mentally process this. So the signaling that comes from either your body or your mind precedes any kind of emotional response from your body or any kind of chemical response that might come from your body. Basically, as life happens to you, you put it through an intellectual meat grinder, and as it processes, it begins to produce emotions. Now, psychiatrists don't look at things like this. They're just like, oh, you're just a blob of accidental material, and if we put the right material inside of you, then you will function rightly. But that's completely out of line with reality. We know this by the things I just mentioned. So as life around me happens to me, the way I process it determines the emotions that will flow out of me. And I'll just share with you a personal change in my life. It used to be when I found out that somebody was gossiping about me and tarnishing my name, I'd get angry, I'd get jealous, I'd be hurt, I would be vengeful, all at the same time, and these emotions would be kicking around. It's like, I can't believe somebody's rubbing my name in the mud. I mean, how in the world, what am I going to do about this? How do I fix this? etc. The emotions would go off the charts. I'm sure that if somebody did any kind of blood or brain or lab work at that point, they'd be like, oh, you're full of terrible chemicals, etc. I don't know what it'd been. But it came after not just the information that was coming to me, not just after a life event that I was interpreting, but it came after I interpreted it. Now, years later, as I find out that people gossip about me and they're like, oh, they don't like what you said and they're saying this about your family and here's what they think your weakness is. As those things come now, I interpret that in a whole different way because of the scriptures, because of the way that the scriptures have rewired my thinking by thinking more God-like. I already know people are going to do this. I already expect bad is going to happen. I already expect that the forces of Satan are going to attack me through close friends, etc. And when you process it like that, guess what happens? You have fantastic chemical reactions and emotions because the Bible says you should actually be excited when people are saying bad things about you because you're getting some credibility in heaven. You're getting some future rewards in heaven. And it didn't come because I was taking some pill that changed my chemistry on the inside. No, it came after the interpretive process on the inside was wired correctly. Have you taken time to assess where these negative emotions that are given to us by God, these negative chemicals that go through our body, have you even taken time to assess where that is supposed to take us to or what truth it is supposed to reveal? Until you dig down deep, you might be misled.